Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Art of the Automation Pitch, crafting a narrative that drives action. I'm very glad you joined us today. I have Matt Stewart here. He is joining to add some color commentary, add perspective. He is a former leader of a COE at a financial services organization and has some awesome experience. Plus, he's a lot of fun to work with. And so hopefully you will enjoy the two of us over the next hour-ish. Now, I want to bring up our Pathfinder framework because this new framework helps automation teams navigate the complexities of managing an automation program. If you missed Micah Smith's session yesterday, you're going to want to go back and watch it. Now, all of our team sessions are grounded in this framework. So, for example, my session, we're focusing on one element of evangelism and stakeholder management. Of course, we also touch on value measurement and analytics, opportunity identification and pipeline management, as well as strategy and vision. As I mentioned, go check out his session. It is now on demand, absolutely worth the 45-minute watch. Okay. I am Kate Ressler, and I think you all have probably seen these slides a few times by now. We are starting out 2025, and that means it is time to set goals. So my goal for this session specifically is to help you figure out how to tell a better story about your program so you can achieve the results you want, whether that is buy-in from leadership, more opportunities coming into your pipeline from others across your organization, or whatever your goal may be. Having a strong narrative is going to help you get there. Now, to make this session as effective as possible, I have some asks for you in the audience. I need you to have your hands on the keyboard, ready to chat, ready to ask questions, and ready to answer poll questions. It's very critical. Some of my things are going to totally flop if you don't participate. So please help me out here. Now, if one of you is brave enough or has a big enough challenge, the Ask to Speak feature is enabled. And I would love to have you come on stage and we can talk through whatever challenge you're facing. So know that is always an option throughout this presentation. All right, up first, I imagine that if you are here at this session, sometime in the past, you've been talking about your automation program, you've left the conversation and you go, I think that could have gone better. Well, you came to the right session. So first, I want you to drop into the chat, how is it that you talk about your program right now? What do you say to people when you want to make an impression? All right, so drop that in the chat, and then I'm going to launch a poll because I think that there's probably some common themes.
Kate, I think that another question would be, do you talk about your program?
Yeah, okay, maybe put that in the chat. Do you talk about your program?
Yeah, like I remember when
Not
I was
just your like pet, come on.
Yeah, I was just thinking when we were first starting in our automation, journey at PNC where I used to work. They have my LinkedIn, they'll know it's PNC, a large bank in the United States. We would meet with new stakeholders often, and we'd be like, hey, we do automation, and they'd be like, who are you? So if we thought that we were making an impact and big stakeholders didn't even know who we were, maybe we weren't talking about our impact enough.
All right. Oh, Philip, interesting. You start out with a question. All right. Hey, Jeremiah, good to see you here. Thank you for joining. You're still learning about their program, so you can talk about it. I like it. All right. We're going to keep going. I'm going to launch a poll here real quick. Ready? Let's make sure. All right. So how do you talk about your program's impact? We've got a few options here. Do you share the total number of bots or automations that you have in production? Do you explain what automation is and what you do? Do you share the technical capabilities of your program? Or do you talk about your vision and recent metrics? Or other? I don't know how much longer to let this poll run. What do you think, Matt?
I'll give it 5 more seconds.
Okay.
All right. I think we launch.
All right, close that poll up and present the results. So the vast majority of you, congratulations, you are sharing your vision and recent metrics. That is great. You also are explaining what automation is and what you can do. That's fantastic. Okay, I'm going to keep going because I think we have some common cases right now. So first of all, I would like to give a scenario. When I am at Imagine and I'm meeting new people, and you meet a lot of people at Imagine, you should all go. I'll ask, tell me about your program. And 9 times out of 10, after shaking somebody's hand and they tell me who they are, they'll say, we have X number of bots in production. And fortunately, I kind of understand what that means, but it certainly doesn't tell me what their impact is. So my tip here is don't play the numbers game. You'll trip yourself up by talking about the total number of automations that are produced right now. You're going to need to focus on what people care about, and that's how automation impacts them, their work, and their goals. Matt, any other thoughts on the numbers game?
No, this is something that we hear a lot about. People they'll get on the soapbox and they'll yell as loud as they can. We've deployed X number of bots, but if one bot could save $1 million, 10 bots could save 0. One bot could transform how you do customer service. 1 million bots might just cost you money. It's not telling anything to anyone.
Yep, exactly. All right. Common mistake number 2, the RPA 101 trap. Explaining the basics of automation and how it works is not going to help you get buy-in from stakeholders or others across your organization who, frankly, they don't care how it works. They want to know how it impacts them, how automation can help them and help achieve their goals. But before we move on, can I please just get an emoji love for these grumpy and happy dogs? I worked really hard on this one.
I do like this one. And this mistake, think about if you were trying to explain to a hiring manager what work a person's going to do for you if they got hired, but you're not tying it to why that work needs to be done or what value that's going to bring the company. You're not going to get that rec approved. Same thing goes for automation. You're just telling people it can click things on a screen. Why? What are we doing with that?
Exactly. Okay, the last common mistake we see a lot of is the technical torpedo. It's really important for you to have expert level knowledge to make your automation program run, but it's not imperative that your audience knows all those details. In fact, if your audience is non-technical, and most of the time they're probably going to be, getting too deep into the technical possibilities will have the opposite effect of what you're aiming for, disengagement. Matt, any thoughts there?
The simplest way to think about a capability is what problem am I solving? And that's all they need to know. If you start getting into all the technical nuances, you're going to lose your audience.
Of course, there's probably exceptions to the rule. Like, for example, maybe you're talking to another group of engineers or developers they're really going to care about technical capabilities, but that's not necessarily for today's discussion. And that's probably not who you struggle to get buy-in from. So we are going to be talking about how to craft a narrative. Now, you can see from those previous examples why they don't work, but where do you go from here? In my perspective, there are three main elements that create a narrative. That's your vision, proof points, and your pitch. These elements shape your program narrative, and they go hand in hand to provide you with like very flexible tools that you can shape based on your audience. Hopefully by having these tools as well, you're going to identify opportunities to talk so much more about your program, because you can kind of shapeshift what that narrative is for the right person, whether you are running into them in the elevator and you've got 60 seconds to make a pitch, you're by the water cooler with a colleague from a different business unit and you're like, oh, we could definitely take some ideas from them. Or maybe it's sometimes you get a one-on-one with some leadership and you want that buy-in. Or lastly, it could simply be your relatives who are absolutely puzzled by what on earth you do for a living. So with that, we are going to get started with the vision. And you always want to start with your vision. Now, your vision is comprised of, well, why it matters is primarily it's first and foremost going to give you and your team direction. Think of it as kind of a GPS. So our team, Matt and I's team, every year we write our vision. It is updated based on the goals our team has around customer enablement. How are we going to make you all more successful? Your vision should be updated every single year based on what your automation program is aiming to achieve. Now, every year, it's probably not going to be massive changes, but there should be a review of it because, well, our goals change as an organization, right? So your vision should reflect that. Now, the other thing we do regularly that I think really matters is every month we have a team meeting and we start that meeting with our vision. Now, this keeps it very fresh in the front of our minds and it kind of brings our team together so we are all working towards the same goal. That's really important because you're not going to be the only one talking about your program. So if your entire team is really bought into that vision, they're going to have this as one tool they can use as well when they're talking about their work. Now, a vision also matters because it creates a connection point. So when you're talking to other stakeholders across your organization about what your program does, and you share your vision, it's going to help them connect to what you are doing and how they could potentially benefit from them. And lastly, when you've got a really strong vision statement, it is going to be inspirational and can help get more people bought into what you do. And in turn, they become champions for you and they'll start advocating on your behalf. There's nothing better than that because they are doing some of the work that you would be doing as an automation program leader. That is one of the many ways that you can scale. All right, so what goes into a vision statement? Well, first and foremost, your vision statement should answer what the problem is your program is addressing, why it's a problem, what's being done about it, why is it being done, who is included in the program or being impacted by the automations, and what benefits are coming from it. Altogether, that together creates a vision. Any thoughts around this, Matt?
No, I know you might not have meant to, but this really aligns well with our Pathfinder framework as well.
Well, that might be on purpose a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, up next, and this is where I need everyone hands on keyboard. I am going to take you back to like the 80s and 90s on a road trip across the US, like classic I-70 drive. I live in Kansas. I-70 is the world's most boring highway. So as a kid, we played Mad Libs a lot. Mad Libs is a game where you fill in the blank with random words, whether it's a noun, adjective, etc. So we're going to play a little game to write a vision statement together. And Matt is going to be, oh, I'm glad you love the game, Noemi. All right, here we go. Our Mad Libs challenge. So I'm going to ask you all to join the chat and somebody give us some company name options here. Make Happy Inc. Thanks, Matt. Somebody can do better than Matt.
I hope a lot
Anything.
of people can do better than Matt on this one.
Tech Sync. Hey, Shreya. HP. Punchy Buggy Kids. Customers are us. Walter's Widgets. Okay. All right. Matt, choose one and tell me what you think.
Well, considering my real first name is Walter, I'm going with Walter's Widgets.
Okay, Walter's Widgets it is. I'm typing this up separately and I'm going to put it in the chat as we're done. Walter's Widgets is embarking on a bold journey to leverage AI-powered automation in driving to outcomes. Provide me with some outcomes, please.
Yeah.
What
and so
outcomes does Walter's Widgets drive?
Think about when you're talking about outcomes, this doesn't just have to be, cost savings, because that is the most common one that AI and automation go towards. But here at Walter's Widgets, we really care about the customer experience. So we want to make sure that we're driving an improvement to our customer experience as well.
Okay, I'm putting that in. Our chat is empty. Come on, folks, you can do it. Improve productivity. All right. I'm going to put and improved employee productivity. All right. Up the next sentence. We envision a future where every blank is accelerated. That's a noun. Service excellence, employee satisfaction. All right. I need a noun where every
customer interaction.
Yeah. Every widget production. Yeah. Parallel doodad production. That's the winner right there. Yeah.
And Kate, just to let you know, there are some questions coming through in the Ask the Speaker portal, which I believe are part of your presentation. So we're not going to address them now, but ask her, just know you will be seeing some of these get answered throughout the course of the session.
All right, we got some other things in that will work for every Maria. I'm going with mundane task here. Now, y'all, I have no idea if this is going to make any sense at the end, but we're having fun along the way, and you're hopefully getting the point here.
Yeah.
Every mundane.
We're not just changing processes.
Yeah,
we're transforming. The way we deliver value. So this is like, I feel like that last one could potentially have multiple commas. It's really, who are the key stakeholders that you care about the most? It could be, if you're doing customer experience like we do at Walter's Widgets, that would be, we're delivering additional value to our customers. Could be, if you were looking at just saving money, it's additional value to your shareholders. It's really whoever the primary goal for your vision is.
So what's this last one, Matt? I'm going to let you do the honors.
I'm going to say deliver value to our customers, because without customers, Walter's Widgets would go out of business. Okay,
I'm adding this in. It might. Okay. So bad news. There's a 400 character limit. I'm putting most of this in, and then I will. It only cut out the last portion. All right, guys. Here is our official vision statement for Walter's Widgets. Walter's Widgets is embarking on a bold journey to leverage AI-powered automation in driving improved customer experience and improved employee productivity. We envision a future where every unparalleled doodad production is accelerated, every mundane task measure is enhanced, and every service line is enriched by our automation initiatives. We're not just changing processes, we're transforming the way we deliver value to customers. Okay, thank you for humoring me on that and going on a road trip here. We are going to now talk a little bit about metrics. And I've got a poll to launch while we let Matt do a little plug of his session that is coming up real soon.
About 2 hours. So when we're talking about metrics, I've chimed in a little bit here and there saying customer experience, employee experience, and other things like that. Most automation groups start on FTE reduction, cost savings, things that are really, really easy to quantify. But there's an entire spectrum of ways that you can deliver value to an organization. I have a session on that in about 2 hours. So it is, Kate, I don't remember the name. It has changed so many times, but it is 2:30, and I believe it is called
Overcoming the
Overcoming the
Pitfalls.
Pitfalls. There we go. I
Yeah.
just found it. Overcoming the Pitfalls of Value Tracking. Best practices for value measurement and analytics. And you will notice value measurement and analytics was one of the Pathfinder dimensions. So this fits neatly into there. The whole point of the session is to make sure you know who you're talking to and what information you need to share with them and what information they need to share with you so you're measuring the right thing. Thank you. Ollie has linked it in the chat.
Thank you, Ollie. Ollie to the rescue. All right. I'm going to close this poll up. Oh, I'm going to give it 5 more seconds, and then we're going to close this poll. All right, here we go. Close poll. And it is processing. Present the results. Here we go. So financial metrics are in the top spot there, followed by delivery metrics. Any thoughts around that, Matt?
It's interesting that curve goes from left to right on the spectrum that we're discussing later on, which is the exact thing we're pointing. It is harder to deal with indirect benefits than it is to deal with direct benefits in terms of communicating and measuring their value.
But those indirect benefits can be make
Huge.
or break when you get buy-in, right? So
yes,
y'all need to go to Matt's session. It is really a companion to this one. Okay, so I'm going to stop presenting there. All right, so when we talk about proof points, you want to go beyond those anecdotes. You want to actually truly prove your impact. There are kind of 3 layers of proof points that I want you to start thinking about. First is the quantitative metrics. You are always going to need numbers. They always matter. Nobody will believe you about anything if you don't have numbers to back it up. But when you start talking about those numbers, make sure you're using common language that your audience can understand, whether that is somebody in an entirely different business unit, it's somebody new to your organization, or it's leadership who really care about business metrics and business language. And though those metrics, those numbers, hard numbers are very, very, very critical, I think it's also super important to consider qualitative benefits. Think about the stories of the people you're impacting. I think, I don't know if any of you caught I'm going to mess up the title, but the AI for Humanity or Tech Innovation for Humanity, something like that. It was this morning. That session was all about, there was so much qualitative benefit and deep storytelling. And that one is a prime example of how you can evoke an emotional response from people. And that gets people very bought in. Now, no matter what quantitative metric or qualitative metric you have, they aren't going to really matter if they don't roll up to common goals across your organization. I feel like I'm harping on this a lot, but hopefully you all understand by the end, you need to make sure that whatever you are measuring, whatever automations you're producing, ultimately support your organization's goals. So we're going to look at kind of these 5 elements that I think make an amazing success story blueprint. You need to talk succinctly and clearly about the business problem you're addressing. Provide a high-level solution overview. Do not do the technical torpedo here, just high level. You want to provide the quantitative impact, super important. If you can get that qualitative benefit in the form of a quote, that is a really good start. And lastly, if you can talk directly about how this aligns to your company's goals, that is like what's going to make this use case automation success story a major winner. So here's an example template. You may have seen this pop up through some presentations here and there throughout Pathfinder Summit. This is a template that, guess what, you can download directly. It is in the session description right below this video. Just scroll down, there's downloads, there's some other links as well. So this is just a simple one-page PowerPoint slide that I would argue you could use for every single automation to tell your success story. And let's just show this filled out with an example. All right, so, and I need to, you guys, this is super small. My eyes are, I don't want to do human zoom. So I'm going to read off of a slide that I've got pulled up because it is too small for me to see. Okay, so you can see over on the left, we've got our problem statement. Every vendor has a different format for their invoices, and capturing valid invoice information is critical. In order to process payments to vendors, AP needs to validate invoice information first. This is very time consuming. Matt, anything that you would change about this problem statement, or is it pretty clear?
Nope, I think that's pretty clear. And it avoids getting into the nuance that distracts from what's actually being solved.
Yeah, we don't want to get into the minutia. Just keep the problem really straightforward, high level. All right, the solution here. Vendors send invoices via email to the automation. The automation leverages AI-powered document automation to identify and validate vendor invoices and creates these invoices in our AP system for processing. And then we have a little diagram for how that works. I think this is the level of technical detail that most audiences need. Would you agree?
Yeah, so actually I'm going to plug a session I did yesterday as well on common language when building requirements to build an automation. It was a design framework session that I did. It was called From Complex to Conquered. The type of things that you see here are the salient business information in the process. Nothing technical. We're not mentioning API connectivity. We're not mentioning complex modeling. We're just saying we need this business information to do this, and it solves your problem. That's the easiest way to communicate this.
I love that. All right. Hey, Ollie, if you're still in the chat, can you go find that session and drop it in? Thank you. Okay, so down at the bottom, you're going to see where we drop in metrics. We've got 3 different quantitative metrics: the number of annual transactions, that is a delivery metric, or execution, delivery. Matt, delivery or execution there? That is not my expertise.
So annual transactions, business information.
Business information. I was thinking times spot run.
Yeah.
Time per transaction, important. So you can do the next calculation, annual time savings, number of hours. I know that's a common metric for you all. Whatever the metrics are that you are reporting on, make sure you just weave it in very clearly. Now we've got organizational impact down at the bottom. Automation freed the AP team to dedicate time to negotiating terms and consolidating vendors, resulting in improved operational cash flow. So that was the downstream impact. By the way, this is fictitious, just so you're all clear.
Fictitious, but very representative.
Yes, absolutely. Exactly. Mary Williams is nobody in particular, but she said, instead of spending hours manually creating invoices, I now focus on vendor relationship management and have even secured better payment terms that have improved our cash flow by 15%. This visibility into our spending patterns has helped me advance into a senior position within our AP team. So as you can see, that quote provides a little bit of an emotional tug. Like, we helped Mary advance her career while we're achieving some business goals. That's a win-win for everybody. And certainly a massive win for a single automation, in my opinion. Okay, so the next portion, we've covered vision, we've covered proof points. Up next is crafting your pitch. Now, I have a major caveat here. I am not a graphic designer, but I've been working in marketing long enough to make decent PowerPoints. I'm very good at aligning content and picking the right font sizes. But arguably, what matters most is the content that you include in your narrative, in your pitch here, right? So take everything here forward with a grain of salt. Do not use my designs necessarily to inspire you because they're not great. Use the content construct to figure out how you're going to change your story. Thanks, Shreya. All right. So when you are starting to craft that that pitch deck, you need to customize it for your audience. Now, often that's going to be leadership. So your C-suite or VPs who you need to be bought in, that you need them to be your champion. You need them to approve budget. Your goal there is to show the impact of your automation program on the organization's goals and inspire them with what is possible. You might also, and I think this is a pretty common one, be trying to evangelize across your organization, trying to get new business units to start utilizing your automation program's capabilities. So you might want to show them what kind of impact you've had elsewhere in the organization for a different department. And you're going to want to inspire by focusing on how you'll help them as a department achieve their goals. Another scenario that I think people think of less often is you need to make sure you get new stakeholders or existing stakeholders really engaged and dialed in on what those capabilities are within your team, especially as your vision and program expands into agentic automation. So you may have had these conversations many times. Keep having them with the same stakeholders, and when there's a new one, you bring them right into the conversation. All right, so when you're going to kick off your session, excuse me, for example, with a C-suite, here's a slide totally made up, but an example. You want to show your impact that you can have on with automation and inspire with what's possible. So in this case, our automation program has streamlined processes over the past 6 years with RPA-based solutions, resulting in over $5 million in savings for our company. Today, we will share the exponential impact AI will have on our program and the results it can drive for our business. So the goal here, obviously, you're setting the stage to get buy-in for AI in your program.
Kate, now, I wanted to chime in. One of the questions we asked was actually, what tips do you have for technical leaders who are more comfortable with data than storytelling to start building their narrative skills? So this slide answers that question for you. Data is the narrative. Data is the thing that, going back to our game earlier, that mad libs your story. If you have 5 million in savings, that sentence can be reused for you if you plug in how many years you've been doing and that data. And then if you have the charts and stuff to back it up, you're just putting some narrative around the data. But you do need both. A fancy chart that goes up looks cool, but it doesn't mean anything to anyone who can't read the chart. So the common language with the data in the background.
All right, now let's say you're talking to a new business unit. Like I mentioned before, you want to talk about the impact you've had on other departments and inspire them on what's possible within their department to help them achieve their goals. So here's an example. Our automation program has streamlined accounts payable processes over the past 6 years. Does that sound common? It should. Helping the department increase cash flow and decrease operational expenses. Today, we will explore how automation can help human resources improve employee satisfaction, decrease turnover, while increasing productivity. Now, a real thing to do, like to catch people's attention, is to provide a strong stat at the beginning. It can be an industry stat. It could be something that you know from within your organization. But in this case, reducing our turnover rate by 2% could save our organization $500,000 in the coming year. That is something that's going to catch people's attention right away. Now, the last example for this intro slide, and by the way, this is the only time I'm doing 3 versions because that would be a lot of repeat. But you have a new or existing stakeholder. You want to talk about the impact of your automation department in their own department, for example, like if it's someone brand new, and inspire them through enablement. Get them really engaged from the start. So our automation program has streamlined accounts payable processes over the past 6 years, helping the department increase cash flow and decrease operational expenses. Today, we will explore how you will be able to partner with our team to automate high impact processes and achieve financial goals. And again, pair it with an impactful stat. So the key here I wanted to show is there are 3 different audiences. Your pitch deck needs to be massaged a little bit for that audience. Not difficult. You can see a lot of it's repeated, but it is different. Okay, so next, I think every pitch deck really needs to start with what the market conditions are. Now, this is going to create some discomfort with your audience because you're going to talk about the problems you all face. And we all should be aware kind of of our organization's own challenges. So in this slide example, the perfect storm, by the way, this is an AI generated image. Isn't it lovely? We missed our financial targets last year due to increased supplier costs and higher than usual turnover. A competitor introduced a new pricing model, creating risk with our current customer base. 10% of customers are at risk. And the third bullet point here is new regulations are requiring additional scrutiny from finance and legal teams. They're having to spend too much time on this. So your goal is introducing discomfort. This sets the stage for why automation is important. Then you're going to go into goal alignment, right? So what are your North Star objectives? What are the things that your entire organization is working towards? You want to keep those at a high level, but it is a rallying point, right? You want everyone to understand that your program is working towards the same goals. Include C-suite priorities. Everyone knows what those are, right? In this case, from this fictitious company, they need to retain their existing talent because they had too much turnover last year. They need to increase revenue from new products and mitigate risk from new regulation. Now, the next part is talking about the gap. This is where you want to highlight what current state is and where you want to go and what is standing in the way of achieving those things, right? So real world examples of what is getting in your company's way of being successful and how automation, this is where you're going to start to like plug it. They're going to start to see the pattern, right? So employees are on the brink of burnout. That is going to get in the way of reducing turnover. Customers aren't spending. That's going to get in the way of achieving that goal of increasing new product sales. I think that was cool. And regulatory ambiguity, which, let's be real, that's a real thing with new regulation. They roll out and you still don't know how you're going to implement changes within your organization. And it feels like things are going to be changing all the time. Oh, do we have some? Okay. Hopefully the stream is still good. I apologize if it's my internet. Hopefully it's not. All right. Now you want to offer, be very clear, but you want to offer automation as the solution because you do offer it as a solution. It is your path to helping your company achieve these goals. Show how they can directly address these challenges. This is your why and how your team can help solve these problems. And it's really effective. This came from an old mentor, when it's equal parts education, inspiration, and excitement. As you can see, my slide, it's pretty poorly designed. I think the content, though, would be exciting content to the right audience. And use stats where possible. So, Matt, did you have something to say?
Nope, go ahead.
Okay. In terms of retaining existing talent, you want to talk about the things that you can do to automate repetitive tasks so that employees aren't so burned out. You want to talk about with increasing revenue from new products. How can you improve sales processes with automation? When you're talking about mitigating risk from new regulation, what are some of the things that automation can do to help reduce some of that complexity or reduce some of the review processes. So there's always a way that you can align what you're doing as an automation program up to those goals.
I did want to share an anecdote on the retaining existing talent thing. That my last company, centrally, the finance group had approved of 3 ways to quantify the value of technology initiatives. One was cost savings, another was revenue, and the final was cost avoidance. And that was it. That was the only 3 ways you could get a project approved. I was leading generative AI, RPA, and conversational AI. And when you think about the power that AI can bring to an individual's life, making things easier, helping them proactively, it occurred to me that, all of the problems that we were facing, this was during the pandemic, shortly after the pandemic, with burnout in our branches and burnout in our customer service area where you're constantly talking to customers, we could get rid of those problems, or at least alleviate them, if we could only get finance to approve using employee experience as a metric. I did have to create my own version of a pitch deck. It was not as pretty as what Kate is proposing, but I explained to them the problem that we were going to be facing. Like, hey, we've got a whole bunch of people that are quitting, and we've got to pay to retrain the new people every year and pay to recruit. And we have these technologies that can solve this problem. No one will use these technologies to solve that problem if you're limiting it to just these 3 success criteria. And over a couple of months, we were able to get employee experience as an approved metric for project approval. So we've had that exact type of conversation at my previous company.
Yep, it is a real thing. That's why this flow really works well for scenarios exactly like that. Okay, I'm not going to stay long on this because we've already drafted a vision statement together, y'all. You already know the 6 things that need to go into a vision statement. But after you propose automation as a solution, talk about your vision for your program. And then, does this look familiar? It should, because you're going to start plugging your success stories, the ones that matter for the audience, right? So download that template and start documenting your success stories. Have a library ready to go that you can plug and pull for the right audience. Now, we say this a lot within our team, you want to create automation FOMO. You want to leave people that you're presenting to with massive desire to be using your automation program. And that's what use case success stories can do.
On the topic of automation FOMO, one really fun strategy is that once you've gotten one group or another group in your organization bought in and building stuff, having them know how to do this to other C-suite executives so that they're competing with each other for your attention. It's a really good way to get funding and people coming your way.
That's awesome. Okay, so the last thing that you must always do with every pitch deck, and it needs to be custom every single time, is you need to have a call to action slide. You want to be a closer, right? You want to close those deals, meaning whatever the result is that you want out of this session, you need to ask for it. So be very clear and concise. Give them strong calls to action that will create momentum post-presentation, right? It will increase your executives' engagement. If they hear you say, I need X number of dollars in order to create this automation that will help reduce turnover, you're thanks, Ollie, always be closing. That is going to catch their attention, and it will also help shape next steps. Here are some examples of what I would have maybe included in this specific pitch deck. Okay, so the last slide, and I already mentioned this earlier, but if any of you joined midway through, down below in the description, there are a few downloadables. There is a worksheet with our version of Mad Libs. There is the use case template, and then there is this exact fake pitch deck that you can use as an example, just to have on hand as you start constructing your own pitch deck. Okay, so that is all from my slide deck. Matt, we're evening out here.
Fair.
Okay. So questions.
There were a couple in the chat. Two of them were on how do we retain some of the technical details that come through. One question was, how do you recommend balancing technical details with storytelling when presenting to mixed audiences of both technical and business stakeholders? And then another question here was, can you share some examples where reframing a technical automation success story into a compelling narrative helped win over skeptical stakeholders? So I think they're from the same person, anonymous, seems like the same person, but the second one, that technical automation success story, I think every automation is a technical success story, but it's also a business success story.
Yeah.
That other question mentioned that there's different types of stakeholders. One group of those stakeholders, typically the ones with the wallet to fund these initiatives, they're the ones who care about the business success, more the what value are we going to add. Whereas the technical people, it's how are we going to add that value. You can have that same conversation, but you're most likely not going to get to that second step until you've gotten at least some buy-in. And that's where this pitch deck is really focusing on, getting that initial buy-in before you have to prove that you can achieve it.
Exactly. This is your first call deck, your first pitch deck, your first introduction. And Matt, my response was going to be, between the technical and the business audience, who's got the wallet to help you achieve what you want? And it is typically the business users. They are funding the technical capabilities. And it is hard. I know it is hard if you are technically minded to make that shift. I think
I started as a developer. It took me a little bit of time, but I got there.
It is one of those things. It's like a muscle memory, right? So if you take this template and maybe give yourself a deadline, in 3 months, I'm going to have a round one of my pitch deck. You're going to start working those muscles to build your own pitch deck. And guess what? I'm going to ask it. I'm going to put it out there here now. In 3 months, I am happy to host a meetup if anybody wants me to review their pitch decks live. Happy to do it. So drop it in the chat if you would want me to do that, and I'll make it happen.
There is a semi-related question about omitting technical details. They said they worry that oversimplifying a process might lead to unrealistic expectations when it comes to timelines due to underestimating the complexities. So yeah, there are the points where you can say, we can add this value. Here's what we're trying to do. And then because you've made it sound so, flowery and colorful and it sounds easy, that the business is like, great, Friday sounds good to me too. I've been there. That's a real
problem. Yeah.
That is a real problem. I don't think that adding the technical details is going to matter all that much because they don't appreciate the difference between screen scraping and API connectivity. Like the actual nuance of delivery and complexity of delivery doesn't change just because you've shared additional details. Then again, also consider if you share all the technical details, they might think, oh, this is impossible. Let's not even get started. Because a lot of, if you've seen the AI landscape right now, generative AI is getting pushed as like this magical press button, get result. Companies are doing that because if they were honest about how difficult making AI work is, they likely wouldn't get anyone to buy their stuff or talk to them. So you have to have that balance of, here's what value we're trying to add, and also caveat some things are complex and we have to do some exploration. Some of the other sessions do talk about capability management and the technical management of what you can do and what you can't do so that you're not making those promises big. But for this, it's more just focusing on that first pitch and getting the buy-in.
Yeah, getting the buy-in so you can have that next conversation where you detail out what the project would look like, right? Because that is a deeper conversation than what you're going to get out of a 30-minute pitch or a 15-minute pitch. But the cool thing with this, like with this structure, if you've got your vision, you've got those metrics and you've got them locked in your head, right? and you've worked on that pitch deck enough, you're going to be able to pull from those elements, no matter whether you've got 30 seconds to pitch your CEO, I don't know, or the finance department hasn't bought in yet, but you run into somebody and you've got a 5-minute conversation. You've got those elements now to make you be able to speak really strongly about your program in a way that maybe you haven't been able to before.
Yeah, I'm summarizing it in chat here. It feels like step one is we can add value. You tell someone we can add value. Step two is that technical conversation on here's how we add the value. Step three is you actually add the value. Do the thing you promised to do. Step four, show someone else how you added that value. And that cycle just keeps repeating.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So right now we're just talking about step one.
Yeah. Step one and a little bit of step four. Once you've gotten that use case, it's kind of that same kind of that pitch. But yeah. Step 2 and 3, they're the actual technical delivery stuff.
All right. Do we have any other questions?
I think we addressed all of the questions that came in. Oh, wait, I just refreshed and there's another one. How do we get buy-in from leadership and employees who are skeptical of automation? So when you say skeptical, is it skeptical in the sense that they are they don't believe it actually works, or are they skeptical that it'll solve their problem? Because technically working.
Do you want to come on stage and talk through this? Because I think this would be awesome.
That's a good question. And then I think it's the same person has to follow up. How do you balance the use of data and analytics in your automation pitch to demonstrate potential ROI while ensuring that story remains engaging and relatable to the non-technical decision makers? That is a really good question. And actually, that's pretty much the entire focus of that session coming up in 2 hours or an hour now, how to align with stakeholders and present that to them. So feel free to join that one and ask that question again if you're not fully satisfied with what shows up.
Okay.
So that first one, buy-in from leadership, I'm assuming that you're listed as an RPA and AI developer. I'm assuming that a lot of the conversations, and correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, a lot of the conversations that are being had are technical in nature, because when I was a developer, I could envision automating everything. Like I saw what pieces needed to go where, but I felt that no one was listening to me. And it wasn't because they were skeptical of automation. They were skeptical of me saying technical things to people who did not care about technical things. So it might just be the messaging that's making it to those people. I remember creating common functions that, cool, anytime we go to a website that looks like this, we're golden. They don't know what that means to them in terms of business value. So it kind of just gets shuffled until someone can explain to them where it's going to add their value.
On the opposite end, if it's people are skeptical about automation because they're afraid of losing their jobs, of automating away their jobs, I think that's where you start documenting your use cases and include that qualitative benefit. Find those quotes, find those people who are advocates because you've helped improve their job by giving them the opportunity to stop doing things that are not fun to do. And you give them the opportunity to use their brilliant brains for other things to make a bigger difference, right? So part of it is just with that continuous process of documenting your success stories, documenting those use cases, is going back out there and talking to people who have been impacted by them, interview them, take them to lunch, meet them for coffee. Having those live conversations is really going to help you gather that kind of qualitative feedback, those quotes, those stories, the things. And personally, I think those would be super motivating to hear. Wow, I knew my automation had an impact on the bottom line, but I didn't know it actually made somebody's job that much better, right?
Yeah. So here's a line that I like saying a lot. And it just blanked out of my head. So, sorry. Companies that focus their automation on removing jobs are going to lose out to companies that use automation to enable growth. If you are building with the mindset of improving what's going on in your company and achieving your company goals, you're not going to be laying off people because you created a new AI agent that did part of their job, they're now going to be doing their job faster and making your company more money or more profitable.
Matt,
That type of growth curve is only achievable if you're able to explain that vision to people as well. If they think automation is just cost savings, that's never going to happen.
Yep. That's why the vision matters, right? I just added a fire emoji just for you on that one. It's a good quote.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've got a couple minutes left. Somebody can come to the stage with their challenge if they want. We can take a couple more questions.
Let me refresh. Vatzel, the biggest challenge that I have faced while pitching to potential customers is the resistance to automation in AI. To mitigate this, I have now started with AI with human in the loop, and it works half the times. Can you suggest more pointers on how to mitigate this challenge further? So you're referring to the problem where they don't want it. I don't see the reason they have the resistance, but you're doing human in the loop to help mitigate that. Is it a fear of job loss? Could you ping that in chat? What the resistance driver is?
Wonder if it's job loss or they're just unsure that it's going to produce. Ooh. Yay, yep. That's all. He's coming to stage.
All right. I have not seen this yet, so I'm interested to see how.
Is it going to work? All right, let's give it we have a couple more minutes, so hopefully it'll work.
I see a comment of security. Wait, there we go.
Yes.
Hey, hi guys.
Hey, Vatsal, how are you?
Yeah, could you clarify that?
How are you guys?
Great. Could you clarify what you meant by the resistance?
Yes. So basically, the resistance is not to give complete control to the AI or the automation. So their major concern is if we automate everything, so we will not have that control. So that's why I have started saying now it is AI with human in the loop. So that reduces their resistance to change, basically. But it works half of the times, and half of the times it doesn't work. So I wanted to ask you if you can suggest more pointers to it, where we can actually pitch it in a better way, where they don't feel insecure of losing the control all over the processes.
Yeah. So when you're saying it doesn't work half the time, you're not referring to the automation. You're referring to that explanation that human in the loop will keep humans. Yeah.
Exactly.
Honestly, you're going to have some people that say yes. You're going to have some people that say no. And that's common for now. I'm doing this and my hands are no longer in frame. This is kind of funny to me. Anyway, you'll have some people in agreement with you and some people that aren't. And that's going to be for any message that you're trying to communicate. What you need to do is that cycle of steps 1 through 4. Once you have some people buy in and you're delivering success for them and it's worked, you take that to the people who said no before, and eventually that no group is going to continue to compress until there's maybe a few stubborn holdouts, but enough people will have seen, hey, the plan that we set in motion is working the way that we said it would.
Understood.
Yep, for sure. I mean, as a marketer, one of the most powerful ways that you market is by using your customer's experience, their customer's words. That's exactly what you're doing with this documentation of success stories. So I think the more you can kind of create some quantitative benefit, qualitative benefit around human in the loop experiences, automations, et cetera, the more you're going to get that traction. I mean, I think that, it's just going to be one of those things. It's going to take a little time, but I think you'll get there.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for joining. I'm glad I got to see stage stuff.
My pleasure.
Excited.
Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, nope. There was another comment in chat, single line, but it's very poignant. Security. Security is one of those things that are incredibly hard to get buy-in on, especially in the age of AI, data security and all. It is part of the how in your conversation. So, what value you're going to deliver. There is the how you're going to deliver it. And then I guess as part of that, like 2B, how we're going to make sure it's secure, how we're going to make sure it's tested and working. All that's a governance and standards conversation. Kind of outside the scope of this video, but if you're interested in it from an AI perspective, there is going to be an AI training camp coming up in a few months that dives very deeply into how you can make it so every capability you're employing, every how you're employing, has that built into its explanation to the business. Kate, we are 12 seconds over now.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, everybody. This has been a highly engaged audience. You guys helped me write a mission statement for Walter's widgets. I hope you grabbed your downloads. If you didn't do it and you haven't done it yet, still do it. You can also grab them after the fact. This video will be on demand. Appreciate you all. Can't wait to connect with you in the coming year.
Thanks, everyone.
Great. Thanks, Kate.